All right, how you guys doing? I'm really glad you guys are here. We're gonna have a fun 30, 45 minutes here. My goal for today is just kind of take you through our program, take you through Play Present, let you know what we do as a company and why we're here and what we're all about. I'm gonna share my journey with you, my story of how I got here. I'm one of the founders of Play Present along with Andrew Zimmerman. And if you have any questions today, you can tweet us at Play Present. You can type us right now, and I just want to be able to answer everything. Any questions you guys have. So, man, without further ado, I'm just going to get rolling and just kind of share how I got here and how we came about doing this. So at any point, if anything comes up in your mind, I just want to help you out. So it's kind of an informal thing we're doing here, but let's get something super productive at it. So I'm Graham Betchart. Again, I'm one of the founders of Play Present, and I've been on a journey for 11 years to help make mental training something that was easy for everybody to do. I'm 37 years old. I got involved in mental training when I was 19 years old, and okay, hold on. I'm just making sure. Let me just make sure the Q&A is set up here for everybody. I think you have to go to the upper right-hand corner to activate the Q&A should you have any questions for me. All right, so I started on this journey 12 years ago. I got introduced to sports psychology by Adonal Foyle. And Adonal Foyle played for the Warriors for 13 years, and I just got out of college in 2001. I had done a lot of self-help work on myself. I had worked on overcoming depression, overcoming anxiety. Really, it was more about healing myself. When I was 19 years old, I felt like everything in my life fell apart. Everything. Like I lost everything that made me feel comfortable. I didn't know who I was, and I was desperate and seeking help. And I started doing a lot of personal work on myself, personal development. And I spent about 2 or 3 years of my life completely focused on just developing myself. And I kind of let go of basketball, which was the love of my life. I let go of it just to work on myself. And after I got through a couple of years, I realized I still loved basketball a lot. So I ended up playing in college. I went to UC Santa Cruz and played there. And when I played in college, I realized all these skills that I had been working on with self-help and overcoming depression and really learning to become whole, these skills helped out greatly on the basketball court. And I didn't really tell anyone about a lot of the work I did on myself because I felt kind of ashamed of it and I felt kind of weird. Here I am, a 19-year-old male working through, real big depression and working on it. I didn't have anyone to talk to, but these skills helped me out on the basketball court. And when I graduated college, I got a job in the fitness industry. I've always loved being in gyms, and that's where I met Adonal Foyle. And Adonal said to me, "Hey, you need to check out sports psychology." He was working on his master's at the time. He was in his 3rd or 4th year in the NBA. And I thought, sports psychology, like, what is that? Is that like some Jedi stuff? Is that like, what is that? And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe this has something to do with some of the stuff I was doing years ago, some of the self-help stuff I was doing. But now we can learn this stuff through sports. Maybe sports is the right medium to teach people how to work on their mindset, how to develop themselves. So I quit my job, got into the graduate school, called Sallie Mae, took out student loans, and was like, here we go. I'm going for it. There's something special about this. And this was my calling. Like I really felt like this was what I wanted to do. And at the time, in 2003 and 2004, and even now, if you were to go on Craigslist and look for a job under sports psychology or mental training, there is no jobs. There was nothing there. So going after this was really about going after my passion. It was about following something that I knew I loved, that I knew I wanted to do. And it didn't matter to me that I had no idea how I was going to make a living. I had no idea how I was going to pay rent. I had no idea. I really had no idea how any of it was going to work. All I knew was I loved it. I had had a bunch of experience with mental training as a teenager. going through a bunch of pain, and I love sports, and I wanted to find a way to help people, and I felt like this was it. So I went all in, like all in, not half in, half out, but all in, completely uncomfortable, completely. I felt so unsafe as I did it. I have my dad telling me, you should be an electrician. This is a great job. This is what you should do. And in my heart, I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do, and I got my undergrad degree in history, and people would ask me, are you just going to be a history teacher? And I was like, no, I got a bunch of knowledge. I'm going to do whatever I want to do in this world. So I didn't let any of that derail me, because I knew there was a light inside of me that was like, do it, Graham, do it. Follow your dream. This is your chance to do it. And so that's what I did. I started going to graduate school at night, taking sports psychology classes, and I thought to myself, what's the point of doing this unless I'm immediately working with athletes? So I'm from San Francisco. I went to Lowell High School in San Francisco, and I thought Lowell High School doesn't need any help. It's an academic powerhouse, a great school. I was going to go to Mission High School, which was a school that had people from tough situations. It was a school that was in a struggle a lot, and I thought, this is the place to go. This is where I can go and work on this mental training with the athletes at Mission High School, and I can use basketball as the medium to get them to work on themselves. So basketball was the hook, and basketball was the draw. And so I would go to school at night, go to Mission High School the next day, and I would apply all this stuff I was learning. I would apply all the stuff I was learning in grad school, and I would work on it with the kids. And my goal was, I was going to stay 4 years at Mission High School and graduate a class, go through and graduate it. And as the years went by, after 4 years, we had built something so special at Mission High School, and we had got ourselves to the point where we won the city championship in San Francisco. We went on to play in the state. Everyone was graduating. Our team GPA was over 3.0, and I just felt like, man, I can't leave now. Like we just got it rolling here. So I ended up staying at Mission High School for 6 years full time. And to me, like, one of the scariest things about it was I was a part-time substitute teacher while I was at Mission High School to make it. And I think I was making, $50 a couple days a week. And one of the real challenges was I had a vision for what I wanted to do. I knew it was going to take some time. I was 24 years old when I started, and I just knew this wasn't going to happen overnight. So I had to prepare my mindset to stick with it for the long haul. And one of the great challenges was working this out with my family and working it out with my wife. I mean, we all have to make a living. We have to find a way to live. And I knew to get to my dream, to really help people out, it was going to take time. And so there was so many uncomfortable moments as I started this journey that, looking back now 11 years later, I really don't know how I did it, except I was tuned in to what I knew I was passionate about. I was tuned into what I knew I could do. And even though there was no jobs and there was no logic behind it, there was just something calling me to do it. And so you just jump in. And after a few years at Mission, like I said, I ended up staying there 6 years. But during that time, during the summers, I would drive all the kids to the Stanford basketball camp. And I would drive them down, and I ended up meeting this guy, Chris Weems, who coached at Menlo School. And I told him what I was doing at Mission High School, and one thing led to another. He brought me down to Menlo School, and I started doing mental skills training with their basketball team, and it was a great experience. And he said, you got to meet this guy, Tim Kennedy. Tim Kennedy is a coach at Mitty High School, which is down in San Jose. I think they would be interested. And I met Tim Kennedy, and I started doing mental training at Mitty High School. And, my whole goal with this was to get to the NBA. I wanted to be a mental skills coach in the NBA. And what I quickly realized was I wasn't going to get hired by an NBA team. NBA teams weren't calling. NBA teams didn't even necessarily have the position on their team of a mental skills coach, of a sports psychologist. And I knew that was my dream. I knew that was what I wanted to do. And I thought, I'm not going to let it derail me just because an NBA team doesn't want to work with me. I'm going to treat the people in front of me like they're in the NBA. So I'm working with JV basketball teams like they're NBA players. I'm taking it that seriously. And that philosophy really, really helped me out, because when I got to Mitty High School in San Jose, a kid named Aaron Gordon showed up. And when Aaron Gordon was 13 years old, I did my first workshop at Mitty High School, and he was on the varsity team. At the end of the workshop, I said, does anyone have any questions? And there was one hand that went up, and it was Aaron Gordon. He looked at me with the most confident look in his eyes, and he said, I don't understand what you just said. I need you to explain it again. And I knew right then that he was special, that he was different, because he didn't know what was going on, but he wasn't afraid to ask for help. And so at 13 years old, I built a bond with Aaron Gordon. And at the time, we didn't know who he was going to be. We didn't know who he was going to become. But I was treating him with the utmost respect, just like everyone else I'd worked with. I was treating him like he was in the NBA. And by the time he was 15 years old, we knew he was going to the NBA. And it hit me really hard that, man, I hope what I'm teaching and what I'm passing on to him is the real deal, because this dude is going to the NBA. He's going. And so we locked in and we built a bond together, and we trained and we trained and we trained and we trained. And he bought into working on mindset. He bought in to all this stuff. And what I realized when I was working with him, he was helping me get better at what I was doing, because he pushed me to be an even better mental skills coach, because he wanted it so bad. He wanted it so bad to get to the NBA. And I thought, wow, here it is. Here's how we're going to the NBA. And it was not how I thought it would be in graduate school. I thought an NBA team would call me. That's not how it worked. And it just worked out that I connected with Aaron when he was 13. And long story short, working together, we ended up writing a book together. And when I say a book, I wrote a playbook. And I wrote this playbook, and I call it Play Present. And because it was basically helping Aaron solve all the situations he was going through, all the pressure he was facing. He was facing immense pressure in high school. He was a national scene. Everybody knew who he was. The pressure was overwhelming. So this gave me a clear path on what I needed to work on, because I knew what he was going through. So what we did was we built a whole series of plays. And this year will be the eighth season that Aaron and I have been working together. And the book that I produced I got done with it a couple months ago, is our journey together. And the challenge for writing this book, this program, was getting it under 50 pages. So I know there is a ton of self-help books out there. There's a ton of motivational stuff out there. And what I always felt challenging was when I was done reading a motivational book or a self-help book, I didn't even know where to start. They were so complex and they were so vast, and they would be 200-300 pages, and the information was awesome, but it wasn't bite-sized. It wasn't easy to digest. And I knew that I had to make this information bite-sized. I had to make it simple enough that a teenage athlete could understand it. And so that's why writing and developing our program for Play Present, I didn't just regurgitate a bunch of skills or regurgitate some information that I learned and kind of just wrote it to get it out. It took me over 4,000 days to write this book, because it's a program and it's a pathway to follow. It's something that if you study the plays and you work through the plays, we're not wondering if the pathway works. It works. It totally works. And so for me, that was really hard, was to make it simple and to make it digestible and to phrase it in a way that athletes could understand. So again, it's a playbook. It's a series of plays. And as you start to go through the plays, you start to memorize them and you start to practice them, you start to get better at it. And the idea is when you run the plays over and over and over again, eventually the plays are going to run themselves. Just like anything else you do in life, you have to put a ton of repetition in for it to become natural for you. And so our philosophy works like this. Awareness activates your abilities. You already have all these skills inside of you. You already have greatness inside of you. For a lot of people, it's just dormant. And so as you become aware, you activate these skills. But the skills don't become alive until you have an experience with them. So your experience evolves your enlightenment. So you become aware of these skills, and then you have to actually go out there and play with them and try them and struggle with them. And as you start to have experiences, that's when it really clicks in. And the third piece is repetition retains your realizations. Meaning mental skills are just like any other skill. There is no quick fix. You have to practice every day. You have to do it over and over and over again. And the more repetition you put in, eventually it starts to happen by yourself. And you hardwire your brain to learn a new way of doing things. But this process is just like strength training or just like working on any other muscles in your body. When you're growing mentally, it feels uncomfortable. And what we found is a lot of people, when they get uncomfortable mentally, they just stop. They just shut down, and they think their feelings mean they're in trouble and they need to stop. And they feel like confidence means you're supposed to feel great all the time. And that's not it. That's not how it works at all. So much of growth mentally is about allowing yourself to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And this is a concept that Aaron Gorin bought into when he was 13 years old. He said, okay, I'm going to allow myself to be uncomfortable. I'm going to learn all these skills that we're working on. And just like learning to walk when you're a baby, you're going to fall down over and over and over and over again. But that's how you learn to walk. And I just use Aaron as an example for a lot of what we do, because when he was in high school and college playing, his reputation was he was a terrible shooter. He couldn't make free throws. He would miss 7, 8 free throws in a row. He would airball 2 of them. People would be embarrassed. He would be embarrassed. And now when you watch him work out and you watch him play now it's awkward if he misses a shot, right? So he's gone through this whole process, and he's allowed himself to be uncomfortable, and he's really owned these principles. And now you look at him and he's shooting really well. I worked out with him the other day, and we were in the gym, and I was watching him shoot free throws, and he made 99% of the free throws that he took. And I reminded him, hey, did you know that 4 years ago you would have made 10% of the free throws you took? And he was like, wow, that blew me away. And he now understands that you have to fail to the top. When I first explained that concept to him, that, hey, man, all success is through failure, he looked at me like I was crazy. He was like, what are you talking about? I don't want to fail. But because he allowed himself to miss all those shots, he allowed himself to go through that process, he's now got it down. And he's not even 20 years old yet, and he's already starting to master some of these skills. And so what I want to do now is take you through these principles and take you through each play and kind of walk you through it real quick so you get an idea of what it is. And it's all done in a sequence leading you from your foundation all the way to the highest level. And so play 1 is what we call win. And we call play 1 win. We call it that is because everybody wants to win. No matter what you're doing in life, if you're a salesperson, if you're an engineer, if you're a basketball player, if you're a teacher, doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, you want to win at something. You want to be successful. And so that word is so powerful. But the irony of winning is you cannot control winning. You cannot control results. And if you kind of look back in your life, if you could control winning or results, you would have never lost at anything you've ever done. So the irony of winning is focusing on winning does not help you at all. So win stands for what's important now. That's what it breaks down to. And what's important now is focusing on what you actually control and letting go of everything else in life. And this is so hard because everyone talks about results. Most people are judged on results. Success is based on results. But thinking about results all day is going to stress you out and make you feel miserable. So what do you actually control? You control your attitude, you control your effort, and you control your focus. And those are facts. So what's your attitude like right now? What's your effort like right now? Are you focused on what's happening right in front of you right now, or are you worried about something that happened 5 years ago? Are you worried about something that happened 2 minutes ago? Are you worried about something that might happen in an hour? Play 1 knocks out 99% of the stuff that you're worried about, because 99% of the stuff you're worried about is completely out of your control and a complete waste of your time. It's useless. And if you focus on stuff that's out of your control, it takes away all of your confidence. It derails it. And when you focus on what's in your control, it builds positive energy inside of you, and it builds confidence inside of you. So play one is win. What is in your control, and you focus on that. Because I'm telling you, most everything you worry about or think about, it's irrelevant. It's a waste of your time. So once you understand that, you can go on to play two. Play two is called play present. And all that means is I got to be where I am right now. The question I always ask people is, where are you at? And your answer should be, I am right here. If you're on the other side of this hangout and you're checking your text messages or you're looking at emails, you're not really where you want to be. What you want to be right now, what you want to be doing is really trying to listen to what I say without letting your mind go anywhere else. This is when you practice your focus right now. This is when you practice being present. I know your phone is right next to you. I know it's going to vibrate. I know it's going to buzz. But your challenge is be here. Really be here. Because if I asked you the question, where are you at? And you said, I'm not here, there's no point of that. You got to be here right now. You got to be present. So whatever you do for a living, whatever you do in your life, whatever you're doing right now, be here. And how do you get yourself here? See what's in front of you. What are you looking at right now? Really see it. Are you looking at a computer? Are you looking at your phone? Are you actually seeing what you're looking at, or are you thinking about something else? Because if you don't train your mind to see what's in front of you, to focus on the task at hand, your mind's going to wander all over the place. So this is a skill. Another way to get yourself into the present is focus on your breath. If you focus on your breath is happening right now. And if you can focus on right now, you're here, right? You're here. So that's play two, is okay, all I control is myself right now. I better be here. If I'm a parent, I better be tuned into my kids. If I'm a leader of an organization, I better be tuned into my people, and I better be focused right now. Have you ever been talking to someone and you can really tell that they're not present at all? And they might be looking at you and talking to you, but they're not focused on what's happening now, and you're not taking anything they're saying seriously. They're not even engaged with you. They're engaged in anything other than what's happening now. It's pretty easy to tell when someone's not present. So once you understand play one, what do I control? I control myself right now. So that means play two is I got to be here and be present. Period. That's it. And if you're present, you're powerful. The power is in the present. That's when you're whole. That's when you're strong. That's when you're fully alive. So sounds easy to do, easy for us to talk about, hard as heck to actually do it. Because so often during the day, you lose your focus and you're worried about the past, you're worried about the future, and you lose the present. So play three is what we call next play speed. Next play speed. And what that means is when you lose your focus, how fast can you get it back? How fast can you get back to the present moment? And in the case of a basketball player, man, this happens all the time. A basketball player might get fouled going up for a layup, but there's no call. The ref didn't call it. And the basketball player feels a surge of energy go through them. They feel angry. But if they stop and dwell and they deal with the past, the play that's already occurred, they're no longer present. So what they have to do is quickly refocus to the task at hand, get back to the moment, and use their next play speed to get back to playing present. Period. So next play speed is the ultimate skill. Trust me, you're going to lose your focus all the time. You probably lost it a few times watching this hangout. Get it back. Get it back. Get it back. And I set a goal for people. Get it back in under 3 seconds. Don't lose your focus and realize 12 hours later that, whoa, I've lost my focus. Be aware right now where you are. If you're not here, come back to here. If you're having a tough time, take a breath and focus on your breath. See what's in front of you. So that's next play speed. And that is the ultimate skill. And we'll go back to Aaron. Aaron bought into this at 13 years old. So Aaron would make mistakes all the time on the basketball court. And what he started to do was train himself to move forward. And the first thing that's hard with it is you have all these emotions. You have all these feelings. And you have to just feel your feelings and move forward anyway. And that takes an incredible amount of willpower to keep pushing forward. when you feel like you've been wronged, when you feel like you've been cheated, when you feel like someone's taking away your dream. So what? Next play. Move on to that next play. And so by the time Aaron went to college, he had been doing this for about, 13, 14, 1,500 days. He had been practicing this. And when he was in college, you would hear his coach say things like, wow, Aaron has an amazing ability to just move forward. He was born with this amazing ability. And we always knew he wasn't born with that ability. He practiced that ability. And I'm saying that to you because you do not have to be born with any of this. You simply have to have a desire to get better at it. And that's what Aaron did. So he practiced his next play speed. And now when you watch him play basketball, his next play speed is under 1 second. You never see him dwelling on anything. He moves forward. And if you think he was born with that, you don't get it. He wasn't born with that. He was born with a willingness to practice, and he was born with the willingness to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And because of that, he practiced and he got great at his next play speed. So that's play 3. Okay, and that leads us to play 4. Play 4 is called find flow. And find flow means however you feel, you're okay. Period. If you feel angry, you can deal with it. You can learn to breathe, be cool, and calm yourself. If you feel scared and fearful, you can recognize you're not in danger. You're not going to be hurt. You just feel a feeling. And you can feel scared and still act aggressive anyway. You can feel fear and still do what you need to do. So play 4 is about, and this might be kind of harsh, it doesn't matter how you feel at all. It matters how you respond to your feelings. And another word for this is mindfulness. So if I feel angry, I can't just walk around and rage on people. If I feel angry and feel like I'm about to erupt, I actually have to breathe and be with my feelings. I have to breathe and be with them. That's one of the hardest things you can do, is be with your feelings and not react. And so finding flow is, you have to accept right now that confidence is not a feeling, confidence is an action. Period. You're going to feel crazy ways in your life, but you still get to choose what you do and how you act. And that ultimately is freedom. And so play 4 is, you always have a choice of what you do. You don't necessarily have a choice of how you feel. So get over that. Right? And so play 4 leads us to play 5. Play 5 is called see, breathe, and be cool. And this is about when you feel heated and you feel agitated and you feel frustrated and angry, acting on that anger is not the way to go. The thing to do is breathe and be with your feelings. And sometimes the best action is no action. Powerful, because it's hard to do, because you're feeling an impulse to act. You're feeling an impulse to be aggressive, to yell at somebody. But as soon as those feelings pass, you'll feel bad for what you did. So what you want to do in that moment is simply take a breath, be cool, feel your feelings, and choose not to respond. That's hard, but that's play 5. Play 6 is called see, breathe, and do work. And play 6 is about when you feel great and everything is going your way and you're maybe the best in your field at something. Play 6 is about go for it. You cannot be afraid to be the best out there. This might surprise you a little bit, but a lot of people are afraid of how powerful they are. I've worked with numerous basketball players that have the best skills, but they won't allow themselves to use those skills. They're afraid of how great they can be, and they'd rather play it average. They'd rather play it safe. So play 6 is about, we're not going to play it safe. We're going to go for it. Because if you got the skills, you got to do it. And if you got it going on, you got to go. And you got to do work. So whatever you're doing, you have to stick with it. And sometimes the challenge is when everything is going your way, people get self-conscious. And when everything is going your way, don't think about the results. Just get back to your process. Get back to doing what got you there. And that's play 6. It's don't be afraid of success. Don't be afraid of how great you can be. It's crazy, but sometimes that's really scary. And that leads us to play 7. Play 7 is see, breathe, and act aggressive. And what that means is sometimes you're going to feel scared. You're going to feel fear. And you have to understand that feeling fear does not mean you are in danger at all. Not even close. Not even close. And if you can make that awareness and gain that wisdom, you can choose what to do when you feel scared. And so if you're on a basketball court and you feel fear, you're not in danger at all. But if you continue to act fearful and you can continue to be passive and you refuse to put your skills on the line and you refuse to go for it, you're defeating yourself. So see, breathe, and act aggressive is about, I feel scared, but I'm going to act aggressive. And the key word is act. Act aggressive means you don't feel aggressive. It means it's an act. And if you act aggressive over and over and over again when you feel scared or passive, eventually you're actually going to feel aggressive. So the skill is act your way into the feeling, period. So you can feel scared, do it anyway. I can feel angry and not act. And I can know I'm the best at what I do and let it rip without worrying about anybody else. And those are plays 5, 6, and 7. And so that leads us to play 8. Play 8 is what we call MVP. And MVP does not stand for most valuable player. That's not what it stands for. MVP for us stands for meditation, visualization, and positive affirmations. This is a little technique you do to help yourself train the first 7 plays. So let's say you are struggling with your next play speed. You're struggling with play 3. You're struggling moving forward when you lose your focus. Here's how you would train it. You would run play 8. You would do a minute or 2 of meditation, just focusing on your breath, getting yourself present, and then you would visualize yourself moving forward in a situation where usually you would have been stuck. You would see it in your mind. Your mind is so powerful, it doesn't know the difference between imagining something and actually doing something. So if you can visualize doing something, imagine doing it, and it's really real, your body thinks it's real. So if you imagine yourself moving on to the next play, you imagine yourself moving forward when you get stuck, it gives you a great chance to do it in real life. And in the P, positive affirmations, you would finish your MVP with telling yourself, I move on to the next play in under 3 seconds. I move on to the next play in under 3 seconds. And even if you don't do that right now, you say affirmations as if it's already occurring. You don't tell yourself, in the future, I'm going to move on to the next play. No, you say it, I move on to the next play right now. And that affirmation guides your behavior. So play 8 is about training the first 7 plays. How you're doing on those 7 plays, if you're not doing well, you're struggling with some, play 8 is how you train it. That's how you practice. And so that leads us to plays 9 through 12. And plays 9 through 12 are philosophies to guide you when you're going through challenging and tough times. Okay? So play 9 is called the next level. And all this is about is understanding that for you to get to another level in what you're doing in your life, for you to advance, for you to grow, whatever the next level is for you, it requires that you are comfortable being uncomfortable. Period. If you want to stay comfortable, you're never going to grow. If you want to stay comfortable when you were a little kid and the first time you fell down trying to learn to walk, you would have never got up and you would have never kept trying. So play 9 is recognizing, for me to get to the next level, I have to jump all in, and there's no safety net. It's extremely uncomfortable, and it's going to appear like you have to jump into a fire, and which is scary. But getting to the next level requires that you jump right into that fire and you trust. You trust that this will actually get me there, because if you spend all your energy trying to avoid uncomfortable situations, you are avoiding success. It is absolute failure if you avoid uncomfortable situations. So play 9 just gives you a philosophy to guide you in those times in life when you feel really uncomfortable and you feel really scared and really kind of like, I don't know what I want to do. You can say, oh, that's cool. I'm about to go to the next level. It's okay if I feel like this. Totally okay. And an experience I had with this was when I get up to speak in front of a group, I feel joy before I go speak in front of a group. And one day someone asked me, what does joy feel like to you, Graham? And I said, joy feels like my heart is going too fast. It feels like I have butterflies in my stomach. It feels like my brain is going too fast. And it feels like I'm about to use the bathroom in my pants. And the person said, how is that joy? And I said, because when I feel that, man, I'm going to the next level. So every time I feel that feeling, I reframe it and say, this is positive. Because I know if I feel like that, I'm about to do something special and I'm going to the next level. So play 9 coaches you through situations when normally You might retreat, you might get away, you might want to play it safe. Play 9 allows you to go right into that space, which leads us to play 10. Play 10 is greatness. And greatness is about understanding the philosophy that you have to reframe failure as something that's necessary for you to become great. If you are trying to avoid failure, you will never be great at anything in your life, period. Period. So play 10 is really understanding, hey, for me to be successful at something, I'm going to fail a lot. But the only failure is that I stop, is that I stop working towards my craft, right? We look at Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. There's that story that it took him 10,000 times to get the light bulb right. And every time he didn't get it right, he thought to himself, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer. So if you look at it like every time you make a mistake or failure, you're just getting closer to the real beauty that's inside. And so you have to keep digging, you have to keep going because you have it inside of you. You have these skills, but if you don't allow yourself the space to fail, you'll never become great. And we can go back to Aaron Gordon. Again, Aaron Gordon could not make 3 free throws in a row when he was in high school. He could not do it. But he didn't shy away. He kept being aggressive. He kept going to the free throw line. He kept failing over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden it clicked. And like I said, now he doesn't miss. He doesn't miss free throws. And so play 10 guided him through that process. He would call me crying, saying, man, I am a failure. How can I miss 9 free throws in a row? And I was like, man, you're choosing to be great at this. You don't see it, but trust me, this is greatness. If you stick with this, give yourself time, it's all going to work out. That's the same philosophy he did learning to walk when he was a kid. He just didn't remember. We've all had that philosophy when we're young. We're born perfect at these skills. They just kind of go away from us. So greatness is about learning. I got to fail to the top, fail fast and move on, embrace failure as a necessary step to becoming great. Because if you avoid failure, you're avoiding success, period. Period. And that's uncomfortable and that's scary, but good thing you have play 9 to guide you, to allow you to be uncomfortable. Leads you to play 10, right? So this leads us to play 11. Play 11 is mastery. And mastery means, okay, you got the first 10 plays. All this stuff is making sense. How come it just doesn't happen overnight? And none of this stuff is going to happen overnight. It doesn't work like that. Mastery is about putting in the repetition. For any of this to happen, you have to put in serious repetition. You've heard that saying, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. It takes 10,000 hours to master something. Whatever you want to say, there's a lot of truth to that. I've never seen anyone master anything in an hour. It just doesn't happen like that. So mastery is about embracing your journey and knowing that the journey is the destination. And the more repetitions I put into this, the more I work on this, I'll get it down. You will absolutely get it down and you will be successful. But if you think it's going to happen overnight and you think you don't have to be uncomfortable and you don't have to face fear, it's not going to happen for you. So this really works well when you start using these skills, not just in your job, not just in your profession, but you use them in life. This isn't something that you choose to do for 3 hours a day. This is something that you strive to do every second of every day. And that's when this becomes powerful. So mastery is also about taking this from your profession or a game you play and taking it into everyday life situations. Take it into your marriage, take it into your relationship, take it into being a father, being a mom, being a brother, being a sister, whatever you're going through, use this stuff in all situations because you can play present, but you also have to live present, which is huge. So that's mastery. And our final play, the final play for this whole thing is called legacy. And legacy is about this. This is where we actually ask you, what are you trying to accomplish in life? What are your great goals? Like, what do you want to achieve? And for me, 11 years ago, my goal was I wanted to be the greatest mental skills coach for NBA players, period. Period. That's what I wanted to be. That's what I set out to be. That was my journey, right? And the funny thing is I wanted that to be my legacy. But if I stuck to holding on to that the whole time, I would have been miserable. And what you have to do with Play 12 is once you know what you're going for, once you have that clear vision of this is what I want to do in my life, the funny thing is you got to let it go. You have to let go of holding on to that vision. And what you do is you let go and you go back and run Play 1. What's in my control? What's in my control right now? Do I have any control of an NBA team calling me? Do I have any control of an NBA team hiring me? No. So if I want to make it to the NBA working with guys, I got to go back and run play one. What's in my control? Attitude, effort, and focus right now. So what I found was on this journey, I wrote this playbook for myself to get through this situation. And it blew me away. I trained the #1 draft pick in the NBA this year. I trained the #1 draft pick in the NBA last year. And I'm going to train the #1 draft pick in the NBA this coming up year. I've trained 12 lottery picks in the last 2 years, and no NBA team has hired me. I didn't do this waiting for an NBA team. I created an opportunity for myself running these plays. And that's what I want from you, is I want you to know that who cares what the circumstances are? You create your own opportunities. And at Play Present, we created a pathway for you to follow, and we created a program for you to train. And what we found limiting with a lot of motivational programs and a lot of self-help programs is you get a big buzz when you hear someone talk for an hour or two, and you kind of get this emotional high, and then a couple days later, you don't even know what to do. And so we know what to do. And we have something for you to follow. We're not wondering if it works. It's a pathway that works. Again, it took me 11 years to distill it to under 50 pages. So we built this for you. We built it for you to follow your dreams and to live your dreams and to not start and then quit right away. And if you follow the playbook, I'm not saying this is the only pathway to success, but this is a pathway to success. And this is a pathway we've been walking a long time. And what's really cool is with wisdom comes peace of mind. So you're going to feel uncomfortable on your journey. You're going to go through all those situations. But when you have the wisdom of our program, you'll know I'm okay. I'm on the right path. And Aaron Gordon could call me saying, hey, I've missed 9 free throws in a row, and we can cry together. And I would say, that's okay, man. That's part of this journey. You're going to figure it out. And he'd be like, okay, I just got to feel uncomfortable for, maybe a while. But he wanted it bad enough. He wanted his legacy so bad that he ran these plays. He wanted his legacy to be a great NBA player so bad that he let go of that and just runs the plays. So I just wanted to share that story with you and share this process of how I got to where I got and how I got to do what I was called to do in this world. And I didn't wait for anyone to put me on. I didn't wait for anyone to hire me. I did it myself. And what I found is, man, you can do it too. You absolutely can. All right. So you can check us out at Play Present. We have all kinds of resources on our website. We have training programs. We have a book. We have a video series. So we have all these ways for you to do it. And the funny thing is, I could want you to be successful. My business partner, Andrew Zimmerman, could want you to be successful. But the most important person who needs you to want to be successful is yourself. You got to do this for yourself. You have to want to grow. You have to want to let your light shine. And if you have that little bit of energy inside of you and you know it's there and you have something inside of you, go for it. Let it rip. We're here to help you out. But if you try to deny that, if you deny that you have that calling inside of you, you're going to suffer your whole life. So instead of suffering, go for it. Let it rip. I mean, that's what we did for you. That's what we built for you. And this is our love. Our love is serving people, helping them reach where they want to go, and really doing it. So it's about 5:48 right now. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to share my story with you. I'm going to check to see if anyone has asked any questions. Okay, looks like I got a few questions here. Let me see what the first one is. First one, how can you practice being uncomfortable when a situation is very uncomfortable? So awesome. Like being comfortable, being uncomfortable means you just sit there and you be with it. So a couple of examples for an athlete might be, have you ever had to put your foot or wrist or some sort of body part in a bucket of ice? Right? Extremely uncomfortable. But if you just put your body part in it and you breathe and you be with it, all of a sudden it starts to feel a little comfortable after a while. Another great example is hot yoga or Bikram yoga. I do Bikram yoga just to be uncomfortable, just to put myself in an uncomfortable situation. When I walk into that room, the first thing I think is, get me out of here. And I have to coach myself into that room. I have to say, breathe, Graham, you're okay. Be in this space, be present, be uncomfortable. Because the only really, really uncomfortable thing is your mind panicking. But if you learn to calm your mind down and just be with it, feel the sensations of being uncomfortable, you're okay. So here's a big thing. Don't resist being uncomfortable. Have a curious mind. Be curious about the sensations. Notice how they're not as bad when you're curious. So really, really, really good question. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable. You have opportunities all day to do it. Go at it. Let me see if there's any other questions here. All right, let me see if I can find this. Okay, well, I am not a tech genius. I'm just going to hope my boy keeps sending me more questions. Okay, here's a great one. Which play was the hardest for you to master and why? Wow, that's really, really good. I don't know if there was a play that was the hardest for me, but I can tell you recently what I've been going through. I'm married. My wife and I have 2 kids. We have an 8-week-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. And I'll just share a story with you real quick. I'm going to share you about play 5. Play 5 is, again, where you feel heated, angry, and you have to do nothing. You have to be cool and be with your feelings. So my wife and I had our second baby at home with a midwife. And 4 days before our baby was born, my daughter Amaya was having a tough time going to bed. And she was screaming, screaming, screaming in bed. She was screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," very loud. And I made a conscious effort to let herself soothe herself. And she was screaming loud. And I went in and checked on her. And I was like, "You're okay." And she looked at me crying and was like, "I'm okay." And she went to bed. And I came back out to the living room. And I'm sitting there watching the Warriors game. And there's a knock on the door. And I'm like, "Who's at my door? It's 10 o'clock at night." You know, and I go to the front door and I say, "Who is it?" And I hear, "It's the police." And I'm thinking to myself, why are the police at my door? And I ask again, "Who is it?" And they say, "It's the police." And I thought, okay, is there something dangerous in the neighborhood going on? You know, what's going on? And I open the door and the cop looks at me. And the first thing he said was, "There's a child in danger at your house and we're here to check on it." And in that moment, I've never felt more rage go through my body in my entire life. In my entire life, I've never felt this level of power go through my body. And the impulse was, who called the cops on me and said I was doing something to my child? And now this cop is here in my face asking me questions about this. And my feeling is, this is crazy, my feeling was, I don't know why, was destroy this cop, rage on the neighbors, who could do this to me? So those were the feelings, right? So right then, here's play 5, right? And in my heart, I knew, okay, Graham, here's your moment. You got to breathe and you got to be with your feelings and you got to be peaceful, even though you feel rage. And so I did it, and I did it beautifully. And I was able to talk to the cop, and I explained to him calmly, even though I was shaking. I was able to explain to him, hey, it'd been a long day. My daughter didn't take a nap. She was simply yelling. She's sound asleep now. I'm her dad. Everything is fine. He asked me my name, who I was, and I gave everything to him very calm. Probably lasted 3 minutes. At the end, he was like, "Hey, no problem. Sorry for disturbing you." And he took off. And I thought to myself, oh my God. And I still felt the rage of my neighbors. How could you call the cops on me and not just come over and talk to me? We're about to have a baby in our house in a couple days. There's going to be a lot of noise at our house. So instead of just acting on the impulse and going to the neighbor's house right then in that moment to cause some problems, I said, the mindful approach is be with my feelings, wait a couple days, and then go buy my neighbors cheesecakes and go send them love and go give them a copy of your book because I need them on my side. And that was the opposite of what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to fight them, but what I had to do was make peace with them. So I went to my neighbor's house without saying anyone did it. I said, hey, just want to let you know, we're going to have a baby at home in a couple of days. It might be kind of loud. If it's loud, here's my business card. Please give me a call because chances are everything's okay. And I gave him a cheesecake, and then I gave him a copy of my book. And I smoothed it out like that. And so that for me, I tend to run heated sometimes. So to answer your question, play 5 guides me all the time. And I don't think I've ever had to deal with an experience that I had to be more mindful in a moment And then, that was one of them when that cop came over. So, man, heck of a question. Let me see what else is here. Okay. Here's another one. How do you keep yourself motivated when you constantly see negative results after giving your all? So basically, right, how do you stay motivated after getting negative results? Run play one. Dude, you can't control results. So if you're still stressing off results, you're not running play one. So play one is, what's my attitude like? What's my effort like? And what's my focus? Those are the only results. Did you have a great effort, great attitude? Was I focused on the present? If you did those three things, you just won. Even if you were playing basketball and you got whipped, even if you interviewed for a job and didn't get it, you won. So it's about relearning how to define success. You cannot judge yourself based on results. If I judged myself based on results, I would have never been here. I would have quit 11 years ago. So you judge yourself based on your process. Your process is what you control. I control my attitude, effort, and focus right now. That's the only results you need. That's a heck of a pill to swallow. That's super humbling. Stop judging yourself on results. Judge yourself on, did you have a good attitude when your results were terrible? Then you just won. Did you have a good effort when your results are terrible? Then you're winning. Period. You're winning. So let's play one. All right. What if you don't realize you are heated until you have already reacted? That happens all the time, right? Well, there's your learning moment. There it is. And there it is. If you're aware after, oh my God, I was heated in that moment. Now you look for what got me heated. What was the situation that triggered this? What got me into this situation? Because I'm going to be in this situation again, period. So recognize what got you into that heated situation and become aware and know you're going to be in this situation again, but the next time you're in it, you're going to behave differently. So don't beat yourself up after you act heated. Have compassion for yourself and recognize that next time you're in that situation, you're going to behave differently and it's going to be uncomfortable. That's another great question. All right, let me see what else we got. What are the best sports psych books out there? Wow, that's a really good question. I always go with the book Mind Gym. Mind Gym is an awesome book. Mind Gym was the book that inspired me to write Play Present. Mind Gym was the shortest book I found. And I thought to myself, this is inspiring me to write an even shorter book. So Mind Gym is a classic, and The Inner Game of Tennis is another classic. Inner Game of Tennis might be 30 years old. Tim Galloway wrote it. Gary Mack wrote Mind Gym. Start with those. Those are absolute classics that are awesome, awesome books. So I always start with those. Another great question. All right, what else do we got? Okay, what was my biggest personal challenge when working with Aaron? Okay, biggest personal challenge working with Aaron Gordon was, a big one was everyone knew he had a mental skills coach by the time he was a senior in high school, and they're like, how is he missing 9 free throws in a row? You have a mental skills coach and your boy is airballing free throws like you're not very good. And I had to remind myself, Graham, that's results. Stop judging yourself on results. Stop. I cannot judge my success on whether or not Aaron puts the ball in the hoop. And that was really, really, really hard to sit there and go through the times when nothing was going right result-wise and having to coach myself through it, telling myself, hey, I know we're doing everything we can to build this. We're just not getting the results, and that's okay. So that was a heck of a challenge to do that, and it really humbled me a lot. But it also freed me from worrying about that, because what's the point of worrying about that? Now that we've gone through our experience together, I learned so much. So, a big part of it was just being comfortable being uncomfortable. That was like really, 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 really hard to do. So heck of a question. And to kind of wrap here, just about 6 o'clock, everybody, check us out on social media. We're at Twitter. We're at Play Present. We have a YouTube channel at Play Present. We got a bunch of videos up there. You can watch Andrew Wiggins, Zach Levine, Aaron Gordon meditating, working on this stuff. So you can see some of these folks who I've worked with doing this kind of stuff. Be a part of what we're doing. Improve your life. You're worth it. You're absolutely worth it. You can do it. Let your light shine. You're totally capable, and greatness is already inside of you. Just let it out. Have the courage to unlock it, okay? So I appreciate everyone being here. Again, I'm Graham. We're with Play Present. We're here to help. Appreciate you guys. All right. See you guys later.